The great European heat wave of 2026. The summer of 2026 arrived quietly across Europe. In the beautiful countryside of Spain, farmers prepared their fields. In Italy, tourists filled the streets and cafes. In France, families planned beach vacations. In Germany, children looked forward to playing outside during their summer holidays. Nobody knew that this summer would soon become one of the most difficult seasons many people had ever experienced. The first signs appeared in June. Weather reports warned that temperatures would be higher than usual. Most people were not worried. Europe had experienced hot summers before. It will pass, many said. But it did not pass. Instead, each day became hotter than the one before. The sun seemed to hang motionless in the sky. Clouds disappeared. Rivers began shrinking. Grass turned yellow. Trees looked tired. In a small village near Seville, Spain, lived a 73-year-old widow named Elena. Elena had spent her entire life in the village. She loved her small garden filled with roses and lavender. Every morning she watered her plants before sunrise. One morning, she noticed something unusual. The soil was dry only minutes after she watered it. The flowers that normally stood tall and colorful were beginning to wilt. Elena touched one of the roses gently. "It is too hot," she whispered. Days turned into weeks. The temperature climbed above 40 degrees Celsius. Then 43 degrees Celsius. Then 45 degrees Celsius. People stopped leaving their homes during the afternoon. The village streets became silent. Even birds disappeared from the sky. Meanwhile, hundreds of kilometers away in northern Italy, 16-year-old Luca helped his father on their family farm. The farm had belonged to their family for 3 generations. They grew wheat, tomatoes, and olives. One morning, Luca followed his father into the fields. The sight shocked him. Large cracks covered the ground. The wheat plants looked weak and lifeless. "Papa?" Luca asked quietly. "Can we save them?" His father looked across the field. For a moment he said nothing. Then he sighed. "We will try." Every day they worked from sunrise until the heat became unbearable. But despite their efforts, the crops continued to suffer. Each evening Luca saw worry growing in his father's eyes. The farm was not just land. It was their future, their income, their family's history. And now it was slowly dying under the relentless heat. At the same time, in Paris, France, Nurse Sophie Martin was working long shifts at a crowded hospital. Patients arrived every hour. Many were elderly people suffering from dehydration. Others had heat stroke. Some collapsed while walking outside. Doctors and nurses worked tirelessly. Hospital corridors were filled with worried families. One evening Sophie sat down for a brief break. She looked exhausted. A colleague handed her a bottle of water. "You need this." Sophie smiled weakly. "Thank you." Neither of them knew when the situation would improve. Across Europe, emergency services were struggling. The heat seemed endless. In Germany, 12-year-old Emma lived with her parents and younger brother. She loved nature. Every weekend she rode her bicycle through a nearby forest. One Saturday she visited her favorite trail. Something felt wrong. The air smelled like smoke. Leaves crunched beneath her feet. The forest looked dry and fragile. Suddenly she heard sirens. Fire engines rushed past. A forest fire had started only a few kilometers away. Emma watched dark smoke rise into the sky. Fear filled her heart. The forest she loved was in danger. As July arrived, Europe entered a crisis. Temperatures broke records. Electricity demand increased as millions of people used fans and air conditioners. Some regions experienced power outages. Without electricity, homes became unbearably hot. Many people spent sleepless nights. Children cried. Parents worried. The elderly suffered the most. In Elena's village, volunteers began checking on older residents every day. One afternoon, there was a knock at Elena's door. When she opened it, she found 3 teenagers carrying bottles of water. "We are checking on everyone," one of them said. "Do you need anything?"
Elena smile warmly.
"No, thank you. But your kindness means a lot." After they left, Elena sat quietly. The world outside felt frightening. Yet the kindness of strangers reminded her that humanity still shined even during dark times. Far away in Italy, Luca's family received terrible news. Nearly half their crops had failed. His father sat silently at the kitchen table. Bills were piled beside him. Luca had never seen his father look so defeated. That night the family ate dinner in silence. Finally Luca spoke. "We will get through this." His father looked at him. For the first time in weeks, a small smile appeared. "You sound stronger than me." Luca smiled. "Because you taught me to be." Outside, the heat continued. Across Europe, rivers reached dangerously low levels. Wildlife struggled to survive. Fish died in warming waters. Birds searched desperately for food and water. Environmental experts warned that climate change was making extreme weather more common. But for ordinary people, the crisis was not about statistics. It was personal. It was about families, homes, dreams, and survival. In France, Sophie continued working at the hospital. One day, an elderly man arrived suffering from severe heat exhaustion. He lived alone. Neighbors had found him unconscious. Doctors worked quickly. Hours later, he recovered. When he woke up, tears filled his eyes. "My neighbors saved my life." Sophie nodded. "People are looking after each other." The old man smiled. "That gives me hope." Hope.it was becoming one of the most important words of the summer. By August, some areas had received almost no rain for months. Forests burned across parts of southern Europe. Firefighters worked day and night. Many left their families for weeks. Some risked their lives protecting villages and towns. One firefighter named Carlos had not seen his wife and daughter for nearly 3 weeks. Each night he called them. His daughter always asked the same question. "When are you coming home?" Carlos always gave the same answer. "Soon." But he did not know when. The fires were spreading too quickly. Still, he continued fighting, because people depended on him. Across Europe, millions watched news reports every day. The images were heartbreaking. Burning forests, dry rivers, destroyed crops, exhausted firefighters, overcrowded hospitals. Many people felt afraid. Others felt angry. Some felt helpless. Yet something remarkable was happening. Communities were coming together. Neighbors helped neighbors. Volunteers distributed water. Young people checked on elderly residents. Charities provided support to struggling families. In Germany, Emma and her classmates organized a fundraiser for firefighters. They sold homemade cakes and cold drinks. The money was small, but the message was powerful. We care. When firefighters visited the school to say thank you, Emma felt proud. Even children could make a difference. As summer slowly approached its end, meteorologists finally shared good news. A weather system carrying cooler air was moving toward Europe. People listened carefully. Could it be true? Had the nightmare finally ended? Days later, clouds appeared. For many regions, it was the first time they had seen clouds in weeks. People stopped and stared at the sky. Some smiled. Others cried. Then the rain came. At first only a few drops. Then a steady shower. Children ran outside laughing. Adults stood in the rain without umbrellas. Many simply closed their eyes and enjoyed the cool water. Elena stepped into her garden. Rain soaked her clothes. She did not care. She looked at the dry flowers and smiled. "Welcome back," she whispered. In Italy, Luca and his father stood together in their field. The damage was severe. Many crops were gone. But rain meant a chance to begin again. His father placed a hand on Luca's shoulder. "We lost a lot." Luca nodded. "But not everything." His father smiled. "No, not everything." In France, Sophie finally had a day off. She walked beside a river after the rain. The air felt cool and fresh. For the first time in months, she felt peace. The summer of 2026 would be remembered for years. People would remember the record temperatures, the fires, the drought, the fear. But they would also remember something else. The courage of firefighters, the dedication of nurses and doctors, the strength of farmers, the kindness of neighbors, the determination of communities. The heat wave taught Europe a painful lesson. Nature is powerful. Climate challenges are real. But human compassion is powerful too. Months later, life slowly returned to normal. New plants grew. Forests began recovering. Families rebuilt. Children returned to school. And across Europe, people carried a deeper appreciation for water, nature, and one another. Elena's roses eventually bloomed again. One morning she sat in her garden watching butterflies dance among the flowers. The memory of the terrible summer remained, but so did the memory of kindness. Looking at the bright morning sky, she smiled. The future was uncertain. Challenges would come again. Yet she believed something important. As long as people cared for one another, there would always be hope. And sometimes, hope is stronger than even the hottest summer. Moral: difficult times reveal the true strength of humanity. When people unite with kindness, courage, and hope, they can overcome even the greatest challenges.